Between 2020 and 2025, one American city added 45,938 people. Not a metro area, not a county, one city. Georgetown, Texas, 68,725 people in the 2020 census, 114,687 by 2025. The largest absolute population gain of any city in the United States, and the fastest growth rate of any American city over 50,000 people. At the rate it was running in 2021, Georgetown doubles in under 7 years. Now here is why this is worth 20 minutes of your time. 13 days ago, on the 16th of July, the Texas Hill Country flooded again July in a row. The Guadalupe River at Comfort came up to 37 feet. The Pedernales at Fredericksburg, 34. Kerr County declared a disaster. At least 2 people died. And then something happened that almost nobody outside Texas noticed. Kerrville raised its property tax rate by nearly 8%, and under Texas law it was permitted to go that high specifically because a disaster had been declared. The flood is what unlocked the tax increase. So this is the other half of the last video. 12 Texas townspeople are genuinely moving to the real reasons they're moving, and the bill attached to each one. Every number on screen with its source. Every town gets its upside said out loud and its costs said out loud, because a list that only sells is as useless to you as a list that only attacks. Before we start, one thing applies to all 12, and you need it in your head for the whole video. Texas has no state income tax, everybody knows that. It is the single most quoted fact about moving here. What gets quoted a lot less is the other side of the ledger. Texas homeowners pay the 7th highest property taxes in the United States, a median bill of $4,232 at an effective rate around 1.6%, roughly triple the national median rate. The state does not tax your income, it taxes the thing you moved here to buy. And in a town whose valuations are climbing, that is not a fixed cost, it is a climbing one. Let me put an actual number on that, because this is the part that catches people. Say you buy at $400,000. Which is a realistic number for most of this list. At a 1.6% effective rate, your property tax bill is around $6,400 in year 1. Now suppose your town keeps doing what these towns do, and your valuation climbs 10% a year. By year 5, that house is assessed near $644,000, and the same rate is now taking about $10,300 a year. Your mortgage payment did not move, your tax bill went up 60%. And I want to be careful here, that is arithmetic, not a forecast. Texas has homestead exemptions and an appraisal cap on your primary residence that soften the curve. The point is the direction of travel, and the fact that the number people quote about Texas, no income tax, is only one column of a 2-column ledger. Everybody moving to these 12 towns is opening the second column whether they rate it or not. 12 towns we count down, number 1 is the one that doubled. Let's start outside Austin. Number 12, Hutto, Williamson County. Hutto made the census list of the fastest growing American cities of the last decade, and it did it as the cheapest way into the Austin side of the metro. The upside here is not vague. It is a specific industrial bed landing a few minutes up the road. Samsung is building a $17 billion semiconductor plant in Taylor, the largest foreign direct investment in the history of Texas, 1,200 acres. 2nm chips. It is expected to be operational by the end of this year. The project is projected to create over 20,000 direct and indirect jobs across Central Texas, with around 1,500 permanent staff on site by the end of 2026. And the suppliers follow the fab. Materials, components, services, companies are already moving into Taylor, Hutto, and the towns around them. That is real payroll landing in a place that was cotton and rail within living memory. If you're buying in Hutto, that is what you're actually buying. Proximity to a bet that has already been made with somebody else's $17 billion. The cost is the commute, and the way the commute is priced. Hutto is a bedroom community, and the toll roads are what keep the drive tolerable. Tolls are a monthly bill that does not appear anywhere in a listing price, and they are the line people forget when they run the numbers on the move. There is a second cost here that is specific to fab towns, and it is worth understanding before you buy into one. The construction workforce is roughly 17,000 people. The permanent workforce is around 4,000 across the operation. Those are very different numbers, and they arrive and leave at very different times. A town that sizes its housing, its schools, and its retail to the construction peak is sizing itself to a population that leaves when the building stops. That is not a prediction about Taylor or Hutto. It is the standard shape of an industrial build-out, and it is the right question to ask a realtor who is selling you the boom. 10 minutes south, the same trade with worse water. Number 11, Buda, Hays County. Sitting on the I-35 spine between Austin and San Marcos, Buda kept an actual downtown while the corridor around it filled up with rooftops. That is rarer than it sounds. Most towns in this position trade their center for their growth and never get it back. The upside is that Buda still reads as a place rather than a subdivision with a sign on the highway. And the price gap against Austin is real. Austin's median home price is over $540,000 in 2026. Everything on this list exists because of the distance between that number and what people can actually pay. The cost is underneath the town. Hays County sits on the recharge zone of the Edwards Aquifer. The recharge zone is the ground where rain gets into the aquifer. When you pave a recharge zone, less water goes in. The Edwards is the drinking supply for 2 million people and the primary water source for agriculture and industry across the region. Every roof, every driveway, and every parking lot in this part of Hays County is a small subtraction from the thing the whole region drinks. No single house matters. 40,000 of them matter. And this is the structural problem with growth on a recharge zone. The benefit is private and the cost is shared. Each new house is a gain for one family and a rounding error against the aquifer. 40,000 houses is a different sentence entirely, and there is no single decision anywhere in that process where anybody chose 40,000. Nobody in Buda is doing anything wrong. Buda is doing what every town does, which is grow. The next one is the last affordable postcode inside Travis County. Number 10, Manor, Travis County. Manor came in 6th on the list of the fastest growing cities in America across the last decade. The upside is unusual and worth being precise about. Manor is the last genuinely affordable postcode still inside Travis County, the Austin address, the Travis County school options, the Austin job market, at a number that has not yet caught up to any of that. Every other town on this list asks you to leave the county. Manor does not. The cost is sequencing, and this is the failure pattern that runs through the entire video. So I want to name it once properly here. In a normal build out, a town puts in the roads, the drainage, the schools, and the water capacity, and then the houses fill in behind them. In a boom, the order reverses. The houses go up first because houses are what generate the revenue that pays for everything else, and the infrastructure chases them from behind. That is what people mean a year after moving when they say it isn't what they expected. The house was exactly what they expected. The 20 minutes added to every single trip was not north now to the county that added more people last year than almost anywhere in America. Number 9, Melissa, Collin County. 10% growth between mid-2024 and mid-2025. 11th fastest in the United States. The upside is that Melissa grew more slowly and more deliberately than the towns around it, and it spent the difference on schools. In this part of Texas, the school district is the product. People here are not buying a house. They are buying a catchment area, and the house is what the catchment comes attached to. The cost is the county it sits inside. Collin County added 42,966 residents in a single year, 3.4%. Taking it to just under 1.3 million people. That is the second largest one-year gain of any county in the United States. And there is a mechanism worth knowing here, because it decides whether the catchment you bought stays the catchment you bought. Fast-growing districts rezone. They have to, when the enrollment doubles, the boundaries move, and the school your house was attached to in the brochure may not be the school your child ends up in 3 years later. If the catchment is the actual reason you are buying, the question to ask is not which school you are zoned for now. It is when the district last redrew its boundaries and how many new homes it has already approved. Melissa can plan all it likes. Melissa cannot plan the 8 towns around it. And every road Melissa drives on runs through them. The next town is one of those 8. Number 8, Anna, Collin County. 14.6% growth, fifth fastest city in the United States. The upside is the number people actually care about. Anna is one of the last places within commuting distance of the Dallas job market where a new build family house still starts under $300,000. For context, the Dallas Plano Ewing core runs $435,000 to $500,000, and the premium DFW suburbs Frisco, McKinney run $450,000 to $650,000. In 2026, a sub $300,000 new build inside a major American metro is close to extinct. That is the entire proposition, and it is a real one. The cost is that the commute is the proposition, and the commute degrades every month as the county fills in behind you. You're not buying a drive time. You are buying today's drive time, and you will own it for 30 years while it gets worse. Back to Austin and a town priced directly against it. Number 7, Kyle Hayes County. 9.1% growth, fifth fastest among American cities over 50,000. The upside is a genuine, measurable, durable price gap. Kyle is 20 minutes down I-35 from Austin, and it costs meaningfully less to live in, and unusually that gap has held even as the town has grown. Plenty of places on the edge of a boom close their own discount within 5 years. Kyle so far has not. The cost is water and weather, the same as Buda, from the same aquifer in a county with real flood exposure. And this is where the abstract economic story becomes a physical one. When people discuss Central Texas growth, they talk about jobs and taxes and migration, which are all numbers on a page. Underneath the page, there is a fixed quantity of water and a rising number of straws in it. The page can be argued with, the water cannot. The next town more than tripled. Number 6, Leander, Williamson County. Around 91,000 people now, 7.6% growth, fourth fastest in the country. In 2010, it had 26,521 residents, more than tripled in 15 years. The upside is genuinely rare in Texas. Leander is the northern end of the Austin commuter rail line, actual passenger rail going to an actual downtown. In a state built end-to-end around the private car, a town with a train station has something almost nowhere else in Texas has, and it is the kind of thing that gets more valuable, not less, as the roads fill. The cost is that it is one line on one schedule, going to one place, useful for one kind of trip. Everything else in Leander is Highway 1A3. And 1A3 is now carrying a town that has more than tripled since the last time anybody seriously redesigned it. Now south, to the clearest example in Texas of a town growing on top of the exact thing that makes it worth living in. Number 5, New Braunfels, Comal County. 90,403 people in the 2020 census, 110,958 by 2023, 22.7% in 3 years. The city's own projection has it doubling again by 2040. The upside is one of the best on this list, and it isn't a spreadsheet. 2 spring-fed rivers running straight through town, a downtown that survived. Gruen Hall up the road, the oldest continually operating dance hall in Texas. And a German heritage that is still legible in the buildings rather than performed for tourists. People do not move to New Braunfels for a commute, they move there for the place. Now the cost, and this is the one to pay attention to. The Comal River is fed by the Comal Springs. The Comal Springs are an outlet of the Edwards Aquifer. So the thing that makes New Braunfels worth moving to is a spring. And that spring comes out of the aquifer the growth is drawing down. Canyon Lake, the reservoir the city draws from, has been under sustained drought pressure alongside all of it. This is the cleanest case in the state of a town whose entire appeal depends on the specific resource its own growth puts under strain. Everyone arriving is arriving for the river. The next town stopped itself. Number 4, Princeton, Collin County. In the 2024 estimates, Princeton grew 30.6%, the fastest growing city in the United States. In the latest data, it has slipped to third at 18.1%. The upside is Anna's sharpened. A small town that turned into a national statistic, prices still under the Collin County average, and a lot of new stock to choose from. The cost is the most concrete receipt in this entire video. Princeton placed a moratorium on new residential development. The town stopped approving new homes because it could not build water, roads, and schools fast enough to serve the ones already coming. Sit with what that means. The fastest growing town in America looked at its own growth and pulled the handbrake. That is not a town failing, that is a town doing arithmetic in public. And it is the single most useful data point in this video if you are seriously considering any of these places, because it tells you exactly what all the others are choosing not to do. Number 3 grew by a figure that sounds like a typo. Number 3, Fulshear, Fort Bend County, second fastest growing city in the United States, 21% in a single year, more than 11,000 people arriving in 12 months, taking it to 64,630. And then the figure that does not look real, between 2014 and 2023, Fulshear's population increased by 1,082%. Not 108%, 1,082%. The upside is real and worth stating properly. Fort Bend County is one of the most ethnically diverse counties in the United States and among the highest income in Texas. Fulshear is its western frontier. Strong schools, high household incomes, and space to build. The cost is drainage and the precedent is right next door. Fort Bend is projected to pass 2 million residents by 2050, and it sits inside the Houston metropolitan area on Houston-era drainage, with Houston's flooding history as the relevant case study. Open prairie absorbs water, roofs, driveways, and parking lots move it somewhere else. And somewhere else is always downhill from somebody. That is not a prediction. It is what happened at scale 40 miles east, well within living memory. Number 2 is the fastest growing city in America right now. Number 2, Celina, Collin County. Between mid-2024 and mid-2025, Celina was the fastest growing city in the United States. It added more than 12,700 residents in 12 months, a 24.6% increase. The upside is something most boom towns lose in the first 18 months. Celina kept a real town square, an actual center with actual old buildings still standing on it, while adding a small city's worth of people in a ring around it. The usual outcome is that the old middle gets bulldozed or abandoned, and the town becomes a set of subdivisions with no there. Celina held on to its there. The cost is arithmetic, nobody can argue with. Add a quarter of your population in 1 year and every institution in that town, schools, water system, police, roads, is permanently running 1 year behind the population it serves. Not badly run behind, and it stays behind for exactly as long as the growth rate holds. Which brings us to number 1, and to a promise I made at the end of the last video. Number 1, Georgetown, Williamson County, right, where the Blackland Prairie runs into the hill country. We opened with the number 68,725 in 2020, 114,687 in 2025. Plus 45,938 people, the largest absolute gain of any city in America and the fastest growth rate of any American city over 50,000. The upside is not a spreadsheet either. Georgetown has the most intact Victorian courthouse square in Texas, a real one. Original buildings, still standing, still occupied, still trading. It has a university, it has the San Gabriel running through it. People are not moving there despite it being pleasant. They are moving there precisely because it is. And the cost is everything this video has been walking toward. Georgetown sits on the edge of the same hill country that flooded twice in 13 months. It draws on the same strained Central Texas water system as Buda, Kyle, and New Braunfels. And the region it sits in went from 800,000 people in 1950 to 2.6 million by 2000 to a projected 4.6 million by 2030. Georgetown did not do anything wrong. That is the part worth sitting with. There is no villain in this video. Georgetown is a well-run town with a beautiful square that a very large number of people independently decided to move to, and the consequences of all those separate decisions land on water tables, drainage systems, and tax rolls that nobody ever voted on. Number 1 has doubled. That was the promise. It is also the warning. 12 towns, every number sourced, every upside stated, every cost stated. Here's what I came away with having built both of these back to back. The last video was about the towns America uses hardest. This one is about the towns America wants hardest. And they're hitting the same wall from opposite directions, which is that a place can only absorb so much before the thing that made it worth going to starts to give. Port Arthur got the refineries nobody wanted. Georgetown is getting the people everybody wants. Neither town was asked. If you're actually planning one of these moves, the most useful place on this list is Princeton, the town that stopped. So when you look at whichever place you're considering, ask it 3 things. What is the water plan? What is the drainage plan? And has it ever once told a developer no? The answer to that last one tells you what the next 10 years there are going to feel like